afternoon to you.
Good afternoon, Archie. Can you hear me?
Yes, loud and clear.
Fantastic. Fantastic.
How was your weekend?
Sorry, say that again?
How was your weekend?
Yes, it's been really good actually. It's been one of those weekends that's been super busy.
Linda, your volume is up. Your set volume is up. We get a feedback.
Oh, okay. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay. Fantastic.
Good. Okay. Good. Yes. Okay. How is Mr. Billion as well?
He's good. He's good. Everything's all right.
Great. Okay. Now, before we come to our discussion for today, what do you think about MEGXIT?
You know, I was really enjoying the last caller's input on this, that I actually almost missed calling in because I was just listening to. You know what? I think it's and I think we can talk about this today in terms of Meghan leaving the royal Mail and Harry leaving the royal family. I think that it was, of course, I like the fact that they're independent thinkers and they've decided to sort of step out of the norm and do something different. Mm-hmm. However, there's a way to do things. And I think they could have mitigated this backlash. I mean, if the rumors are true, of course, what the media prints sometimes and what the truth is sometimes different. But if it is true that they did it without the permission or without giving them an opportunity to solve that or announce it properly, then that's not good. And I think that's what the British public are angry about, the fact how it was done. Exactly.
Now, just linking, this discussion to when it comes to jobs and stuff like that. You have somebody who comes or goes into an establishment, and then they go in. As individuals, they have maybe their own ideology. Now you have the establishment's ideology, what they stand for, and then person comes in, and then overnight they want to change the whole system. It could be that person becomes a CEO or something. But how do we deal with such a situation?
I think people need to manage their expectations, and I've spoken about this before when I used to work with a lot of young people who are just going in, and to be fair, society has made it like that too, because we sort of someone's newly elected as CEO and we expect them to change things overnight and from one day to the next is going to be better. So especially when you get a new CEO or someone in office, sometimes they do things without thinking, just so they've made a change and they've made their mark. But I think, again, it's managing these expectations and setting these expectations from the beginning. So you were talking about, did she know the full extent of the job she was going into or the family she was going into? Mm-hmm. And they could take some responsibility for that, because and this is why we have orientation processes in jobs. If you're told exactly what it's going to be involve and how really it's going to affect you, because sometimes you know the job but you think, oh yeah, I can handle it, I don't have, I'm relating back to job, like I don't have any commitment at the moment, so yes, I can work 9 to 8 if I have to because I really want this job. And then you start dating someone, or then you have a kid, and then your priorities change, and I think that's exactly what's happened with them, where their priorities have changed and now it doesn't suit their lifestyle anymore, and unfortunately they're in the public eye, so you don't get to just quit quietly. But again, there's a way to do it, and leaving it properly and not burning bridges. There's a proper way of doing things, and I think that they could have been a bit more considerate with the way it was delivered. The decision is still the same. I love the idea of independent thinking and not just doing things just because tradition demands. And as you said, if they don't have any realistic chances of being king and queen one day, what's the point in living this sheltered life for the foreseeable future just because society expects them to.
Frank.
Okay. But I think, look, this is a difficult situation that they find themselves in. But like Felix and Linda have said, I've always said that, look, I'm looking at it purely from a business point of view and financial, the potentials that, because, look, time on earth, if Megan is going to be 70 years on earth, she's crossed half of that. The number of days she has left in front of her, if she's going to, assuming she's going to be 70 years, let's use 70 years, she's going to be 70 years, she's not 38. Okay?
Oh, wow.
Practically, it means that she has less than 14,000 days on earth. So if I got 40,000 pounds and I will ask you to take a £1 out every day, a £1 out, before you realize it's gone. Are you getting me? Even she go to 90 years. 90 years is about 32,000 days. So if you look at it, and she spent, what do you call it, 38, almost 40, call it almost 40. It means practically she has less than 20,000 days to live on earth.
Yep.
Are you getting me?
Yep.
Do you think she should be wasting time just sharing flowers? And again, I think from a financial point of view, I maintain that, look, if you look at what, okay, you love your kid. You want to do something for your children and their, so that in future they know that grandma did something for them.
Yeah.
Let's take the Earl of Sussex.
Yeah.
The Wessex, the Earl of Wessex, the last born of the Queen. He was taken into the throne before what do you call it? William and Harry came. His children, they can wait for years to come. Harry was what? Was the fourth
in line.
As you speak, he's the seventh.
If you put it back.
And who knows the next time William is going to open his button? We do not know. So at the end of the day, for me, if they can maximize potential, we all want to work. I mean, at the end of the day, they can contribute.
Yeah. So they'll be paying their taxes. So
definitely.
One of the things they're going to be telling them today that, look, you're going to suffer double taxation. That once you are settling in Canada, you're going to be taxed. That's one of the proposals that has been leaked, that worked out.
Right.
They're making money, let them contribute their fair share towards this. So I do believe that, look, the best decision is what they're taking. Like Linda said, I think the mode of announcement for me was a bit of was unprofessionally done.
Yeah.
For nothing at all. I would have expected that they had a private conversation with the Queen.
Yeah.
They might have friction with their dad, they might have friction with their brother.
Yeah.
But I think the way the Queen, from outside, where we see, we don't know what goes inside.
Yeah.
Yes.
But from what we see, the way the Queen received Meghan, one would have thought that respect should have been respected.
Yeah.
That they go, that's what Harry decides to do. I think Meghan had a responsibility to speak to the Queen as grandmother. Grandma, this is what we're considering doing. Harry, this decision we've taken together, and we don't want to go to the public before we tell them. But to leave them getting the message 10 minutes before you go live, for me, that was a shocker.
That's a shocker.
Yeah.
Wow.
And I mean, it's not super surprising that they're being rebellious in that way. I mean, if we take Diana, she wasn't the most law-abiding royal we've ever had. Not law-abiding, but as in she didn't always do things. And this is what we loved about her, you know, the fact that she was real and relatable, you know, and didn't do things stuffily. So the fact that Harry does that actually is not surprising. And of course, when you have kids as well and you want them to see you want to lead by example and you want them to see you live your best life. And if you're living a life that's being dictated by someone, the public and everything else, they're going to grow up doing the same thing. And I think that's what Harry didn't want. And for the little I've seen in the media where he says, I watched my mum go through this and the cameras, and he blames that for her death and not wanting that for his kids. I think that's understandable by any standard. You know, that you would want to shield your family from that too.
Yeah. Well, listeners, Star Radio UK is a station on Korea 101. We have MyCheerLinda Pelion all the way from Cyprus, and I have with me Mr. Frank Davis in the studio. I'm Archie, and we're looking at the MEGXIT. But now, Linda, let's talk about managing expectation. So, how do people manage their expectation if they are going to such a place? They have this standards that they set for themselves. Now, how do they manage that expectation?
Okay, this is a great question actually, because it's impossible really to know all the details about a job, and even if you do, there's some situations that are new that might arise. So one, the best way to manage expectations, talk to somebody who's in there, which is where Kate would have been a great ally for her. Talk to somebody who's been there, walked the shoes. We're talking about Megan in this case. So do all the research you can, and this applies to any job that you're in. All the research, talk to people that are in the field of work, that they've done, that have walked those shoes, see and learn from their experiences and take all of that into consideration. And then I think it's then setting your standards and your values, communicating that as openly, as honestly as you can, so that people know that this is me, this is what I stand for, these are my values, this is what I am willing to do, these are the things that I would never do. And then case by case basis, as the opportunities and the problems and whatever arises, you can talk your way through it. But again, communication is key in terms of managing expectations, because if they don't know that you're not happy with this, there's no way to solve it. And I think we got a hint from the royal family when they started suing the media. But again, suing is almost like a 0 to 100 response to it, whereas it would be nice to, and I think, to use a very controversial person, Trump has done that in a way of eliminating what the media can say about him, because he uses Twitter as a direct response, so we know exactly from the horse's mouth what he's thinking, and I think technology allows us to do that these days. So they could have done that too. I don't know if they had that at their disposal. But again, when you're completely honest from the beginning, people can go to the source and they know where they stand with you. It's so much easier to manage expectations for the job.
Okay. Excellent. I don't know, Frank is...
expectation management, I don't think I can add anything from what... our lawyer has already said. But when we link it to what with the MEGXIT that we're talking about, if you look at it, the media context. Now, if you take Harry complained of a bit of mental issue some time back. Now, we know what killed the man, and we know that he stands towards the media has been that he doesn't like certain media. Now, was he expecting, or has he been expecting that probably the royal family will do more, knowing what has happened to the media, will do more to protect him and the wife going forward, or when the woman came? Could that be an expectation that he was expecting, and probably they let him down? Because if you look at when he sued the tabloid, if you look at how the media responded, did the royals came in his defense? Did they let him down? Were they expecting something? As we speak now, they has issued a statement. A statement has been issued in the name of Harry and William. They've gone ahead to that this morning the media has published stories about the friction between the two of them. They said they've denied it severally, but the language that the media is still using is offensive. So if you look at it, Charles was not going to issue a statement like that.
Yeah.
But if you look at the position of Harry, where he stands, he always wants to go confrontative, to confront the media. He wants to be left alone. Have the royal done something to protect, to make that expectation that if my mom fell as a result of the media, I have now got a wife, I expect the establishment to help me fight the media. It was this what he was saying. You know, okay, if they can't win, then let me escape.
Yeah. Why not? It's definitely an interesting time for the royals.
I mean, we've talked about that several times. Now, they wanted to make a statement, or they made a decision, and that we wanted the public to know. Okay, now the channel, at times we have things that will work. Somebody is in the working environment. You have something that you really want to say, but calculate it and see whether it is the right environment at a time to release that particular thing. Do you think that they did well pertaining to that?
Absolutely. Timing is everything. In terms of their specific situation, again, as I said, I think they could have done it better, but we don't know if they... Well, we hindsight is an interesting thing, right? If they had gone to have a chat and they were banned from ever talking, then they probably would have ruined their chances of ever making this known to the public. You know, so maybe sometimes they're constrained, but in terms of work, and I've seen people do this. You know, you're so frustrated about something, and rather than talking about it before it gets to the worst position, like you bottle it up, and then one day you just explode on people. And this is when you see people like go crazy in a boardroom, or do, like, you know, take the most extreme actions. And this looks like an extreme action of just going to the media. So maybe they've had talks and they didn't feel like they were being listened to, or they didn't feel like they could go there without being stopped somehow. So yeah, I think in context, ideally do the right thing, because you don't want to burn bridges. You know, it's one thing fighting for what you stand for and believe in and what you want to happen, and I think everybody should. I don't think anybody should live under someone else's thumb, but that's a way to do it.
Actually, like Linda was saying, in order not to burn bridges, at workplaces there are always channels, well-defined channels. Every good organization has a well-defined channel of communication.
Exactly.
Your line manager, your superior, and other things. And sometimes if people can drop notes without names, about certain things that are happening within.
Yes.
I mean, take the church setup, for instance. We want to communicate something to the pastor, he's not listening. Probably if
Suggestion
we want to close at 2 o'clock, the pastor will bring 2:30. We all guys at 2 o'clock, we all start walking out. The pastor knows that if he finish preaching and the offering is going to be taken at 2:15, the members have gone. But then only 3 people will be there. In Ghana we call it the catechist. And it will be the church. The members are gone.
Yeah.
They've been at church from 9 o'clock. The church has gone all the way. They were supposed to close at 2. Now the pastor is now preaching up to saying that, I mean, that's where God is coming. When people chase it, when they leave the church and the pastor finds the collection level, next time you change it, you start back. So there are different ways of communicating. Listeners,
for sure.
We have MyCheerLinda with us on Career 101. We're looking at the MEGXIT and lessons that can be learned from that. That's what today we try to touch on, because you could be in an establishment. At times you have something you didn't actually expect some things to happen. You thought everything is rosy, you got in there, and then you think I've bottled things too much that now you want to explode. And as well at the right time, you got in the right time to explode, that to another time.
Exactly, and the right channels. I was working with one of these ladies, and she said she started as an intern, and she started this by saying, age doesn't necessarily mean you're smart. And I said, well, why do you say that? And she said, I started as an intern in this company, and she was working with this software, the new software that they'd spent hundreds of thousands developing, and they were going to roll it out throughout the NHS. And she said, and her job was to input this data, and she was looking at it, and when she inputs it, it'll throw out the wrong data. And she was saying to her bosses, it doesn't work. And they weren't listening to her because, of course, it's come from high and they've spent so much on it, and they didn't want to listen. Yeah. And she said, I kept saying it, they kept asking me to keep quiet and do it because I didn't know anything. And she had to walk in and bypass the channels of communication and go to the manager who was responsible for the budget and say, hey, look, this is who I am. I know I'm just an intern, but this doesn't work. It was only until he then decided to test it, then they saved themselves thousands from doing this. So sometimes you just have to bypass the line of communications, like in this MEGXIT way, and go where your voice will be heard.
Wow, yeah. Wow. Listeners, if you want more advice, you want someone to hold your hands there, in your job front, wherever you are, then we've got the right person for you. HRH Linda Bailey, and she can be your CheerLinda. Linda, if they want to get in touch, what do they do?
Linda, apologies. Yes. Linda, listener, we promise you the blog will be ready by today. In fact, we've not completed the blog yet, but we have her details. So if you log on to starradiouk.com, starradiouk.com, you go and the headline presenters and the radio presenters, you see Linda there. You click on a Twitter feed, you should be able to link up. So pretty sure we're going to have every advice that she's giving, good nuggets, all packed in one corner. Not that's on one corner.
Oh no.
Sorry, I thought you laugh. I always get to laughing.
Okay, so put the details up here for our listeners, please.
Sure. I'm Linda Pallion, aka MyCheerLinda. You can find me at MyCheerLinda.com. You can find me on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, LinkedIn at MyCheerLinda. And of course, we still have lots of ways you can get involved in working with us. We have an accountability program, a free program to join, and from last week some people joined from the show, so congratulations to the ones who have. You'll be seeing the benefits, but definitely if you're interested in doing that, come to the MyCheerLinda page, send us a message, and we'll add you to the program. And of course, anything careers related, mental health, mindset, personal development, professional development, I'm your person, MyCheerLinda.
Yes, she can be your CheerLinda as she is our CheerLinda. Linda, thank you very, very much.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me on the show as always.
You're welcome. Have a wonderful day.
You too. Bye.
Bye. Well, listeners, it's starting.
Thank you guys for joining me. That was a fun program. Completely not what I had planned, but of course, it's lovely to talk about topical issues, and this was Meghan Markle's exit from and Harry's, of course, exit from the royal family, and actually how you can incorporate that in your work life as well, and ways to do things, how to hand in your resignation, etc. So this is interesting. Hit me up if you're interested in any of the stuff we've spoken about. Let me know your comments as well. I've been MyCheerLinda as always. Lots of love. Bye now.